This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com, the smartest way to shop for golf.
Welcome to another edition of the Golf Talk Canada video podcast. Great show for you today as we await the return of golf in the province of Ontario. Why not check in with Executive Director of Golf Ontario, Mike Kelly. He'll join Bob and I, Adam Scully, a little later on in the show. Lots of TaylorMade news today coming out of the world of golf, and Bob and I are going to start there. Bob, how are we doing in Casa Weeks, and are we running? What are we doing? We got outside in some of this good weather. Have you
been out doing a little bit of running and trying to keep them fit and eating too many Cheetos. Still haven't got enough nerve yet to cut the hair, but I think it's coming. I got the clippers organized, but we'll see. It's a time where we kind of need golf, isn't it?
It's starting to get there, and that's a perfect segue into our news and headlines, Bob, because out of nowhere, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson are going to take on Matt Wolff and Ricky Fowler in a charity match to support frontline workers, nurses, etc. In Florida. Going to be a broadcast on the Golf Channel in a team skins type format. For me, what I love about this is that we get to see Seminole on television, an old Donald Ross classic that, Ben Hogan spent a lot of his winters playing golf in Seminole. What surprises me about this, Bob, is how it came out of nowhere and kind of leapfrogged Tiger and Phil and Brady and Manning. Are you surprised on how quickly this came together?
Well, I am and I'm not. It kind of came out of nowhere. We'd sort of heard, before with the Phil Tiger thing, we kind of heard leaks about it. And even before the coronavirus pandemic, we'd heard little stories that it was going to happen. But this one, I'm kind of wondering if this might have been orchestrated by the PGA Tour, because the other one was not. And of course, Phil and Tiger had to get release assigned to one. This one is all being backed, it certainly appears so, by the PGA Tour. But listen, at the end of the day, who really cares? We're going to have a match on the 17th, and it looks like we're going to have a match maybe a week later with big stuff going on with big players, and it's going to be live golf. Thank goodness, finally.
And for a good cause, and you're right, it's back, and thank God we get to watch it. And you're right, a lot of stars align with this one, considering they all live there. They're all members of Team TaylorMade to some degree. So a lot of stars align, and maybe you're right, a little push from the PGA Tour. Now, we talked about running off the top because I asked you if you've been outside running, swinging your club, etc. In a Golf TV interview last week, actually late last week, Tiger Woods, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this on radio because we're just so jam-packed on radio this past Saturday. Tiger Woods suggested that running ruined his body, and that if he could go back and talk to the 1998 Tiger Woods, he would have told him, don't take up running. As a runner, Bob, come on, you've got to have an opinion here.
Yeah, I had a little debate on Twitter about this, and I don't think, running is not bad for you. Bad running is bad for you. There's, just like golf, if you swing the wrong way, you're going to hurt yourself. And I've learned through personal experience several times that if you run improperly, then you're going to get injured. And, there's also a fact that Tiger apparently ran a lot very quickly, and you got to build it up, just like you got to build up your golf muscles. So, certainly he could have been injured by running, but it doesn't necessarily mean that running's bad for you. But I think, Tiger is not a guy who does stuff in small bits, right? He jumps in with 100 miles an hour kind of thing. So I hope that he doesn't blame necessarily running, but blames his running on how he hurt his back. But it is sad to think of what could have been if Tiger had trained a little bit differently all throughout the early parts of his career.
Yeah, 100%, Bob. To me, it's two things. I think certainly being a little smarter with the way he trained, especially considering what he did for a living. He was a golfer, not a UFC fighter. And part two of that is, when you dance with who brought you to the ball, when you use your swing, the swing you grew up with, it does less wear and tear on the body than the swing that someone else is trying to build and construct for you. I think going through all those swing changes, asking your body to make positions that felt awkward, unnatural, also have wear and tear. And I think the combination of that, maybe if he sticks with Butch and trains smarter, we're at 22, 23 majors right now.
He's had a pretty good career, all things considered, don't you think?
Yes. It's just, I think we might have been robbed by a few majors along the way. Okay, to wrap up news and headlines, Corn Ferry Tour. Going to add 5 events in the fall, which is now being described as a wraparound season for the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, interesting. They're going to play some tournaments, and they're going to basically, not going to have a qualifying school. No one's going to promote, but there is going to be some events out there, which is good for these guys. I think the more tournaments that guys on those kind of levels can play, there is some talk as well that the top 10 finishers will get entries into the opposite field events at the end of the I'm getting all mixed up, but in the fall series here where they have a few double weeks. So, but good for the Corn Ferry, good for the PGA Tour to be able to create 5 new events for these guys and to find some backing for that. I think it's very positive sign in a very confusing, and probably if you're a really good Corn Ferry Tour player right now, probably a frustrating year for you.
Yeah, very frustrating. And, you kind of plan to do X and try to get that promotion to the big tour, and you're right. But Bob, bang on. The fact that you can add events and find sponsors and find money in this environment, applaud them. That is very well done. Something else that's been very well done is the leadership in Canada, federally and provincially, with the golf community, as well as the political community. I think everybody doing a wonderful job handling this COVID-19. And here in the province of Ontario, Golf Ontario has been no different. On the other side, Executive Director of Golf Ontario, Mike Kelly, joins Bob and I next. This is the Golf Talk Canada Video Podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Golf Ontario, shaping lives through golf.
Welcome back to the Golf Talk Canada Video Podcast. Aquino and Weeks with you. Adam Scully coming up momentarily for a little Scully time. But now welcoming to the program, very good friend of Golf Talk Canada, Executive Director of Golf Ontario, Mr. Mike Kelly. Mike, how are you? How are things in the Kelly household? I'm hoping everybody's healthy and, as important, sane right now, because this is taking a while.
It's taken a while, guys. Yeah, my family's great. Hope yours are well, safe and healthy as well. Yeah, it's homeschooling is turning out to be quite the ordeal on some days. So hopefully we all survive this. And sometimes you just need a little break. Find your, the corner of the house that gives you a bit of peace and quiet, and then do it all again the next day.
That grade 7 math can be tough on you when you get past 30, right? I mean, that's what I always find. It's not easy.
It can be a struggle for sure.
So we don't have an official opening date yet for golf courses in Ontario, but it certainly seems like we're moving in the right direction. If the weather would cooperate, of course. It's been a little bit under the temperatures, but what do you see as the reaction? What's it going to be like when golf does open up here? Because I hear a lot of positive things about people saying, listen, there's no other sport you can play. So, golf could really benefit from this.
Well, I feel very similar to you, Bob. I'm moving from cautiously optimistic to excitement for the 1.5 million people in this province who love the game of golf, and, potentially new participants to the game, because we're out of we could and likely will be out of the gates first. Social distancing is fairly, natural to the game and to the sport. And we're prepared as a golf industry to ensure our facilities and operators are ready to receive golfers in a safe environment. I think this is really good for golf, and I'm just as excited as you guys are for the golf business, but also to play golf ourselves.
Mike, I've heard a bunch of stories, some of them, I guess, rumor related, but is there any truth, or is there any thing to add to the story that a golf course will need to pass a checklist first of COVID-19 protocol, or get some type of qualification, for lack of a better term, in order to open up their doors, whether they be a private or public golf facility?
Yeah, short answer is I have not heard that. I think what you can do is look at what they're doing in other sectors. So they outlined, with 61 different sectors, health measures and precautions. If you look at what they've been able to provide to those industries and those sectors, it should give you a bit of guidance in terms of what we should expect. In the same vein, we are golf, which I know you guys are familiar with, the consortium of golf associations in the province and across Canada, have been working hard as a collective, working with the Jobs and Recovery Committee. And part of that is what we are calling, the return to golf, or a pathway to safe golf. And a lot of what we've been doing is trying to work proactively with the government to provide a list of recommended guidelines that we would like to see, and working with them. And there has been some good collaboration and feedback between both groups, between We Are Golf and that Jobs and Recovery Committee, and a lot of people that are working with us and certainly want to see golf come back. So I haven't heard about a checklist that you would have to get certified, if you want to call it that. But I not to say that that's not going to happen, but I have not heard that. And I think that the golf industry has been very proactive. I've seen a lot of great documents and resources that have come out of BC and Alberta, as well in the US. And we're looking to adopt similar playbooks, if you will, here in Ontario.
It is, in some ways, kind of a good thing that we're the last province, or Ontario and Quebec and Nova Scotia will be the last provinces, because you've got a lot of experiences from the other places in Canada and the US, as you mentioned, that have already gone before and set some kind of standards. And I'm hearing a lot of different things going on. And I was just talking to a friend in California who said when he goes to his golf course, they take his temperature before, as soon as he gets out of the car. And if he doesn't meet a certain standard, then he gets back in the car and goes away. I've heard of greeters now. Instead of having a bag drop person, you have a greeter who tells you to sit in your car and wait. Mm-hmm. I guess getting to the bottom of this is golf could look a lot different for the participant when we do open up in Ontario, can it?
Yeah, no, you're bang on. I think if you think about we went to Home Depot or Canadian Tire, if you just drive, it's curbside pickup. And I'm thinking of Canadian Tire, where you came in and you park in a spot, it's numbered, there's a phone number. You call it, they bring it out to you. There's people in the parking lot, almost like marshals or starters in golf, helping to, make sure that the product's getting to the right car and that it's done without, too much congestion. So I think, as you guys know, not every golf course is created equal, at least in the footprint and the way they have and can control, the flow of golfers. So I bet you, Bob, that I haven't heard of yet of golf courses that are preparing for temperature checks. But I have heard of golf courses that are looking to create something that you described there, around, managing the flow, whether it's waiting in your car until it's your turn to go, and then you progress through a range and putting green to the first tee, something like that, maybe. I think a lot of this, though, will become, more clear as soon as we get these health measures. And to be honest with you, from the conversations I've had with golf courses, this is the biggest struggle. As well as for us. I mean, we have a business to run as well, which is mainly supporting golf courses, and we'd love to give them a list of measures, but we don't have them either, and everybody wants to prepare because we're allowed to do so. But it would be great if we get those list of measures really soon, so that we can get to work on them.
Mike, yesterday we heard from Premier Doug Ford, and the majority of his message was about mental health. We've spoken a lot about golf taking a leadership position as an example, a very positive example, on how people can get back in a safe manner to what will be a new normal. That golf is actually a really good leader in this category. But I think we're also missing an opportunity here, or maybe missing a conversation here, that golf could also be a real leader in mental health and leading in that way, because people have been trapped inside their houses for quite some time. We like to use the term 7 weeks or so, but it's not 7 weeks. For the majority of this country, we've been trapped indoors. Unless you're a great skier, you've been trapped indoors since October, November of last year, and the last 7 weeks have just kind of put a rubber stamp on that. Golf can really help from a mental health standpoint, can it not?
Yeah, I agree with you. Without a doubt. Typically, we think about mental and physical health. And I think sometimes those things can be tied together. I mean, if you're walking the golf course, if you're walking Weston Golf Club as an example, I mean, that could be 10 to 20 kilometers of a walk. And that golf course specifically, not exactly flat at times, but it could be a great walk with your friends, with your family. That alone is good for mental health. Being in the nature, could be 150 acres. Depending on the footprint, I think those are things that I think about that, are good for mental health, whether it's going for a walk outside, or playing golf, in green space. I think those things all help with mental health. And I think golf can be part of what I'm calling, that road to recovery. I think we can play a meaningful role there.
All right, let's switch your hat. I had a conversation on the weekend with a fellow who's a pretty good senior amateur golfer, and he was looking forward to playing in some of the competitions that Golf Ontario puts on. What's the status, and is it sort of a week-by-week thing, the further we go along and know a little more, then you can either push a schedule down or reschedule, or I don't know. How do you deal with the current schedule? Because it is a busy schedule for Golf Ontario.
Oh, yeah. It's a very busy schedule, and like anything, right? There's golfers who are just dying to get on a golf course, and we have competitors that are dying to get in a championship. And I think there's a couple things. One, we have a number of scenarios built, working with clubs to find out what we can and can't do based on when we're able to play golf again. But again, I keep coming back to these health measures. Depending on what these guidelines and measures are, we'll have to evaluate what kind of impact that's going to have on our championships. And keep in mind, we also have a major volunteer force in this, specifically on this program, and as well as others. And they're important, and their health, their safety is really important, and that will continue to be the number one priority. But we're ready with a couple different scenarios once we understand the impact and honestly our club's willingness to host championships. We're bringing people in from across the province, so hotels and things related to travel. There is a lot to consider on this front. And even if you can play golf and you get a storm, where's everybody go? If clubhouses are closed, everybody's just kind of run to their car. So, it's there's a lot to consider there. And we have a very active group, very passionate competitors, and we have a lot of great competitors at all categories. We're getting ready to be able to engage with all of our stakeholders to get their input before we make a decision, whether it's postponing more, shifting to later in the year, or anything in between.
On the heels of that, Mike, before we let you go, I want to talk or ask an update, if you can, on an actual specific championship, because it's a little different than a lot of the championships that Golf Ontario runs, manages, etc., because it's tied to PGA Tour Canada. And we know that Scott Pritchard in the next few weeks is going to get out with an official announcement of some kind, with a schedule that will look like what we've heard, maybe something around 10 events that would start near the end of July, beginning of August. Again, nothing is formalized yet, but that would mean at the end of August, one could make an assumption that the Ontario Open would be on that schedule yet. Are you working hand in hand, I'm assuming, with the PGA Tour Canada, the people at Woodington Lake, and trying to see what an Ontario Open might look like in 2020?
Yeah, all of the above, Mark. We're working obviously with Woodington Lake and the newly minted executive director of the Mackenzie PGA Tour Canada. So, there's some challenges, right, with majority of players being from the U.S., crossing the border, quarantine for 14 days, working with the sponsors that are involved in all of these communities and the economic side of this equation. But I think the tour is ready to announce something relatively soon. Again, a schedule that will be ready to go if and when we can. So, I think they're pretty close. And from an Ontario Open perspective, we're still on the schedule as of today. And again, this thing will be monitored even when a new schedule is rolled out. The Corn Ferry Tour rolled out their schedule, so did the PGA Tour. But it's all contingent upon us being able to follow through on that.
Mike, thanks so much for your time. All the best to you, your family, also the family at Golf Ontario, all of our friends there. So stay safe, stay sane, and hopefully within the next maybe days, certainly weeks at the very least, I know we'll have an announcement coming soon on golf returning back to Ontario for all the people eager to get back out there. On the other side, Adam Scully, a little Scully time. This is the GTC Video Podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by TaylorMade and the all-new Sim and Sim Max drivers. Shape in motion. We reshape the driver so you can reshape your game.
Welcome back to the GTC Video Podcast. It's that time. Master producer himself, Mr. Adam Scully. Scully, how are we doing in this quarantine period still? Were you out swinging the golf club at any point this weekend in the warm weather? I saw the videos on our Instagram and Twitter feed of working on strength and rotation. So thank you very much for that. But I'm curious, did you get the actual club in the hand?
I got the club in the hand briefly, didn't do any recoil, so the back is still feeling okay. I've done a lot of rotation and exercise work. I will tease, though, later this week on GTC Instagram, you will see a new exercise coming out, and it involves a pull-up bar. So get ready for that. And it's an advice or tip if you want to hit bombs this year. That's where you'll see it.
Is a pull-up bar like pulling up to a bar? Is that the same thing?
Just this, curling.
Yeah. The second part.
Yes.
That's what I like to say all the time. I said, the only gym I know is my bartender gym.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Adam, just to kick it off here, you heard Bob and I off the top talking a little bit there about Tiger and the running. Any theories on it? I know you're not a huge runner, but you are always in great shape and have a workout routine. If, in your opinion, if Tiger had maybe just trained smarter along the way and maybe didn't rebuild his swing so much, what major number are we at right now? Because I got him somewhere between 20 to 22 majors if he never leaves Butch Harmon and he takes some advice on how to train for golf.
It's funny. If you look back to 97 when he won that Masters, he was unhappy with his swing and he rebuilt it from there. So, who knows? But with Tiger, he's just such a stubborn human that he just kept wanting to get better. He wanted to change things up. It was almost like he was getting bored. But I think when he was that young and running so much, he didn't know any better. He just wanted to, train as hard as he could and get better. The equivalent would be, Bob, you were mentioning running the wrong way. If I were to start working out without warming up and just doing a pull-up with 100 pounds around my stomach, I'd probably have a hernia or two or three. But the way Tiger was doing it, he was going too much, too hard. I think, Mark, somewhere around that 20 number. But there are so many other dominant players in the mid-2000s, but you never know. I'd say around the 18 to 20 number for sure, though.
I think, I think that his desire to be that Army guy that his father was also drove a lot of that, right? Remember he trained with the Navy SEALs or whatever it was and did some of those kind of things. So maybe he was running in combat boots like the soldiers have to do. I'm not quite sure what happened, but you're right. Definitely look at all the lost time because of injuries, right? It's impacted him in such a horrible way.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the combat boots. In Hank Haney's book, The Big Miss, he mentioned that he did see Tiger sprinting with combat boots on the range and limping after each time because it's so much weight on you. And even when he hurt his knee when he won the 2008 U.S. Open, coming back and rehabbing that, he snapped his Achilles tendon training as well. So he just tried to do too much, too fast. Obviously, he's had an unbelievable career. But for those guys looking up now, Rory McIlroy for, 2 to 3 year span was lifting pretty heavy and was getting pretty bulky. And now he's really toned that down. Brooks Koepka's had a numerous amount of injuries. We'll see if maybe he wants to slim down those biceps a little bit. But I guess we'll see.
Adam, May 17th, we got live golf. We got a good match. Are you surprised how quick it came together?
Pretty surprised how quickly it came together. There must have been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Obviously, for this to go on before the Tiger, Phil, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady match, I'm pretty excited to see this. There were some rumors as well that Dustin Johnson had called Rory McIlroy to play together in the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. How cool would that be? It's going to be awesome to see two guys who routinely face off in the Ryder Cup now teaming up together. I'm pretty excited for this.
All right, Adam, where were we a year ago in the world of golf?
Okay, the week that was. So the LPGA Tour actually had the week off this time last year. So we'll go to the European Tour, the British Masters. Swede Marcus Kinhult, a one-shot victory over Matt Wallace, Eddie Pepperell, and Robert McIntyre got a good finish at the Open Championship. Tommy Fleetwood shot 1 over on Sunday, finishing T8 along with Martin Keimer. The only Canadian in the field, Austin Connolly, unfortunately, he missed the cut. PGA Tour, AT&T, Byron Nelson. Mark, I believe you were there for that one. Sung Kang picked up his first career PGA Tour win, a 2-shot victory over Matt Every, who's had quite a career, highlighted by a second round 61 by Sung Kang. This was one of few events all year that there were no Canadians playing on Sunday, so a bit of an off week for Team Canada. Brooks Koepka, a solo 4, 3 shots back, rounding into form with a major the next week, and we all know what happened with that. Now, speaking of major championships, Mark, you also had a bit of a major earlier this week with the premiere of Off the Hosel. Tell us about that. How'd it go?
Oh, thanks, Skulls. Yeah, we debuted on 8:30 on Monday night with our first episode of Off the Hustle on the CBS Sports Network, and we're coming back with a new episode this upcoming Monday night again. For anyone who has Bell 5 TV in Canada, they can get the CBS Sports Network, but we're hoping for wider distribution starting in June so that all of our Canadian listeners and viewers of Golf Talk Canada can watch it.
Okay, so Scully gives us a year, what happened a year ago. I want you to tell us what's going to happen next week. Where are you guys going on Off the Hustle?
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, we're off to Stream Song, which, this is one of my favorite episodes, actually, that we did, because I love the Stream Song Resort, and it just looks beautiful. Like, the images on TV are stunning, and we had a lot of fun in this episode. It's a crazy ending. It's a laugh out loud ending, which I always enjoy, and we had some good time. You know, it's funny, we were talking right there about that AT&T Byron Nelson a year ago. Do you guys remember Scott Piercy, 4 rounds in the 60s? I don't think he finished third with 4 rounds in the 60s. Absolutely incredible. Man, it's a hard game, isn't it, gents? Scully, what's coming up on Scully Scoop this week?
Well, I had a huge guest last time around with Milan Lucic. Was pretty excited about that. This time around, we have the Preferred Lie coming up soon, which is a course design website about that. So I'm pretty excited to launch that sometime later this week.
That's super cool. Adam, thanks so much for taking the time. We'll see you Saturday on GTC Radio. Bob, I know you got lots going on. You're speaking with Mackenzie Hughes this week for TSN.ca. We'll have that interview on Golf Talk Canada Radio this weekend. But I love the program from TaylorMade this week with the personalization program now with the FG wedges. And your wedge, Hayes 200, you got to tell us about that, because I love that it lit up social media, Hayes 200.
Well, we know that we have this big upcoming battle. It's going to be myself and Jeff O'Neill, the O-Dog, versus you and Brian Hayes. Those two, of course, from Overdrive. And the bet that Jeff O'Neill says that Brian Hayes can't break 200 at the National from the back tees. So you can test out on this personal wedge thing, the My MG2. You can actually dial in and you can get a look at what it would look like, color, size, text, different fonts and things like that. So I just put one in there that said Hayes 200 and took a little screenshot of it and put it up saying I was going to bring this for Brian because, you know, just as a warm-up gift for him.
It's motivation as well.
Yeah.
Also from TaylorMade, let's not forget that this Saturday, May 9th, we kick off 20 weeks of TaylorMade. For the next 20 weeks, we'll give away TaylorMade prizing each week on Golf Talk Canada Radio every Saturday. And we'll do it for 20 weeks throughout the summer into September, where we will conclude at the U.S. Open. And we will give away a full set, custom fit set of TaylorMade golf equipment. We're going to give away close to $20,000 in TaylorMade product throughout 20 weeks of TaylorMade. And the only way you can enter is if you follow us on social media at Golf Talk Canada on Instagram and Twitter. If you already follow us, you're already included. And our friends at Woodington Lake, they extended their contest this week as well for another week, still giving you the opportunity to rename the Legacy Golf Course, where they have gone with a 2-pin, a 2-flag hole location system. They've broken an 18-hole golf course into the 2 9-hole golf courses. You can play 9, 27, 18, 36. It's about options, fun, and a laid-back environment, trying to get new people in the game. And Bob, you know, I always describe it as this, trying to bring that top golf environment to a green grass location.
I told you I put my name in. I put my name in. It's Z-Man Meadows. I think that's what it should be called.
I love it. The way to enter that contest, follow them on Instagram at Woodington Lake Golf Club. Like them and connect 2 friends to that post and give us your name. So you give us the right name. They select your name for the new Legacy Golf Course by tagging 2 friends. They pick your name. You'll get a VIP membership golf experience for the entire year at Woodington Lake on the course you named. Pretty cool to play a golf course for the year for the course you named. Thank you so much for watching Golf Talk Canada video podcast. Drops every Wednesday around noon ET on TSN.ca. And we're back every Saturday with a live 2-hour Golf Talk Canada radio program across the TSN radio network. Remember, first good decision on the golf course starts in the closet. Thanks for watching.
Mark and Bob's clothing and apparel provided by Adidas Golf.